You're listening to the Full-Time Function Musician Podcast, the #1 resource for growing your function musician business. If you're a solo wedding singer, part of a 12-piece luxury show band, or anything in between, and want to learn from other successful musicians, you're in the right place.
You're listening to the Full-Time Function Musician Podcast. This is Season 2, Episode 6. My name is Jack. I am your host for this podcast, and I'm super excited to have you here. This podcast is all about how when you grow and manage your function musician business. Each week I sit down with amazing guests to discuss what's worked for them and what hasn't, and the valuable lessons that they've learned along the way. Together we'll explore how to build a successful business without burning out in the process. So just before we get into the episode, I want to remind you that you can download my 7 Essential Marketing Strategies for Function Musicians guide. This will help you figure out where to start putting your efforts this year. And if you download that guide, you not only do you get all the great advice that's in it, but you also get added to my email list, which you may think, I don't want to be added to your email list, but I absolutely will not spam you. Each week along with this podcast, I send out an email of actionable tips to go along with each episode. So there's a ton more advice to be had there if you're interested. And if you're not interested, then you can just unsubscribe. No worries at all. And I also want to remind you that I'm running a little giveaway over on Instagram where you can win £100 Amazon gift card, which you can use to spend on some new equipment or something else that will help you grow your business. All you have to do is comment and share your favorite episode, and you'll be added into the draw for that, which will be, and the winner will be announced at the end of Season 2. I think that's about it. Let's get into the episode. I hope you enjoy my conversation with Nicole Reynolds. You're listening to the Full-Time Function Musician Podcast, and today I'm joined by the wonderful Nicole Reynolds, a wedding and event pianist, otherwise known as Piano Nicole. Nicole is known for her interesting and unique medleys, and I think probably the ability to turn literally anything into a wedding entrance song. Nicole, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, I'm super excited for this one. So I came across you on Instagram probably a couple of months ago. And I was instantly drawn in and had to ask you to come on, and I'm so happy that you said yes. I'm really excited to hear about your journey as a musician, but also how you've grown such a massive following online. But just to kick things off, I always like to go back and learn a little bit about your story and the journey that's brought you to where you are today.
So I got a keyboard for Christmas, like a lot of kids do, I think, especially in like the 90s, early noughties.
Yeah.
All of us had those little Casio keyboards at home. And I think my first one was like a Barbie keyboard, and I just mess about on it. And then I think I enjoyed it. I was just messing about like any kid would. And then the reason I got into actual lessons was my dad is a window cleaner. And he was cleaning windows, as he does, day to day, and cleaning someone's conservatory. And she was teaching music, and she was teaching piano and keyboard. And he said, my daughter's got a little Barbie keyboard that she messes about on. Is there any chance, she could come in? She said, yeah, bring her in. And I started having lessons with her. I think I was about almost 10. And that lady's called Kerry, and she taught me pretty much everything I know. And I was with her until I was 18, until I went off to London, and I still go back to lessons now if I have a big concert or anything coming up, or I want to just keep improving. So that was kind of how it started. My family aren't musical. We don't have a musical background at all. So it was very much by chance, I guess, that it happened.
Yeah, that's awesome. So what age were you when you first got that keyboard and started getting lessons?
I think like 7 or 8 when I got the keyboard, then about 10 when I went to lessons. So in the music world, that's actually, especially classical music world, that's considered quite late. Yeah. Like a lot of kids can start from 5, 6, possibly even younger.
Yeah.
So, and that was kind of where it all kicked off. And I just became like obsessed. I just loved the fact that I could play anything on this instrument. And yeah, so I started quite traditionally. I moved up through the grades, music grades 1 to 8, did classical piano, and also did keyboard, which is more poppy stuff. And then got to around 18 and was like looking at music colleges. Yeah. And I applied for 4 music performance courses, and I applied for music composition at the London College of Music on a whim, because at this point I'd started writing music. I'd started creating songs and recording piano tracks. And I applied thinking I won't get in, they're going to take about 5 or 6 people. And I got in. So that was like a real moment where I was like, oh, this is cool.
Yeah.
So did my degree in composition, but with composition comes arranging. And I think that's where I got my love for rearranging songs in such niche styles. Was at London College of Music for 3 years. Didn't really do tons and tons of solo piano, just did a lot of composition, but played for some of my friends if they needed pianists for their exams, for their concerts, played at open mics, all those fun things. London College of Music was great. Met some amazing people there and worked with some amazing people. And then when I left, I was, when I graduated, I was like going to do my PGCE to become a teacher and then specialize in music. Because that seemed like the sensible thing to do. Mm-hmm. And I think with music, often it's quite scary to think, where am I going to get like a full-time permanent wage from? So for me, I was like, right, teaching is enjoyable. I love it. I love working with kids and seeing their creativity come out. And then I was all going through, doing all the paperwork to do my PGCE. 2 weeks before I was meant to start, I got a phone call from an agency. And I'd completely forgotten about 6 months before this. I was at open mic night playing for one of my friends. I'd had definitely way too much to drink to be playing at an open mic night, which is hilarious because someone at the bar said, oh, my friend runs an agency for hotel musicians. Would you be interested? I was like, yeah, sure. Here's all of my details. And then they contacted me and said, we want you to come in and play. And so I went to their office and played. And then a week later, they were like, we're going to put you in at the Savoy. And I was like, oh my God, that sounds fancy. So I rang my mum and she was like, that's mad. Like, that's huge. That's one of the biggest hotels in England. And it's like famous. So I went in thinking, you know what, if I go in and play music in the background and they don't like me, at least I can say that I've gigged there. Yeah. And I'd done like one little chapter, I guess I missed out was I've done when I was 17, 18, just before I moved to London, I did background music in a few restaurants around my hometown. So I'd done a bit of background music, but never on that level, never ever on that level. So I was like, I'll go in, I'll play pretty. If they never have me back, at least I can say I've played at the Savoy. And they were like, you need 4 hours of repertoire. I only had 2. So I thought I'm going to have to do it 2 hours and then loop. And I thought the agent manager walked in about 3 hours in, and I'm in this massive, beautiful place they said you need a long dress. I didn't own a long dress. I was freaking out like this. He's going to walk in and say, get out, leave. You've not done good. He walked in, and when they love you, they want you 4 times a week. Amazing. So at that point, I feel like my life just kind of flipped because it was like, I was just about to go and train to be a music teacher. And now I've been offered this, which I feel like I can't turn down. And I didn't. I took a jump, took it on. And then within a month, I'd done the Ritz as well. A few months later, I'd done the Dorchester. Years later, we'd done like Harrods, the Corinthia, all the kind of big landmark hotels around London. And I ended up gigging in them 6, 7, sometimes 8 gigs a week. So I'd finish one and do another. Yeah. So that was kind of a big moment. I'm really glad I took that risk. Yeah. And I think playing in those hotels really taught me how to play because people are having tea, they don't want too much intrusive music, but they want recognizable music. And that was always my niche. That was always what I pushed. So I would be playing like Justin Bieber's Baby, but wanted to play it pretty. Yeah. And I think that might be where it started.
So, I mean, a part of this podcast is trying to figure out like how people became successful and their journeys and things. And I think you can't really like put yours in, like write it down on paper. It's just sort of right place, right time, taking risk and taking the opportunities when they come along, which is amazing. So are you still doing that kind of stuff now or?
I'm not. I do miss it. I loved it. I did it for, oh my gosh. I was resident at the Savoy for about 5 years. Mm-hmm. So I was one of the main pianists there among a group of amazing pianists. Like hotel pianist work is hard as well. You are there for 4 or 5 hours a day kind of playing. Obviously you do get breaks, but you are playing for a long time. Yeah. So hats off to anyone that is doing that because it is difficult, but you learn so much. So no, I don't do that so much anymore. I did work for them for ages, with the agency Gary Parks, who I can't rave about enough. They were fabulous to me, really great guys there. And I just decided, I think it was 2023, I want to say, or 2022. It was one of them. I was like, I'm not learning any more from this. I'm not gaining any more from being here. I'd moved back to the Midlands in the COVID pandemic because I was in London studied in London, stayed in London to work. I'd moved back to the Midlands with my partner, and I just thought I could keep commuting in and keep going in 3 or 4 times a week. But at this point, I'd started to focus on weddings, working with singers, working in venues that were local to my community. And that was teaching me more. And I thought, right, I've done it now. Don't feel like I need to do it anymore. Mm-hmm. It was very sad. I remember ringing one of the girls at the agency and I said, I feel like I'm breaking up with the Savoy, but I've got to go. Yeah. Because it was just my time. So yeah, that's kind of a part of my past, but it's a part of my past that I'll always be very grateful for and cherish.
But does like having a residency like that feel more like a job than say like running your own, like being a wedding a musician? Like you've got to go out and find those gigs and stuff and become more business minded and things.
Absolutely. So I would say it was very much like being employed. You had an employer, you had an agent, and also you were not only representing the agent, you are also representing the hotel. And the hotels were very big on this. Like you're representing us, so you have to be, sound a certain, play a certain way, and be styled in a way that reflects, I guess, the hotel. So it was very much, I'd say, less creative freedom. I got a bit cheeky with it in the fact that I was like playing things like Despacito and Havana, which were the big pop songs of the time, but in my way. And so I guess I was pushing the boundaries a little bit, but I also knew there was a line. Yeah. And I don't like knowing that there's a line. I think this is where it got to. I was like, I feel like my creative freedom is maybe a little bit, it's got to reach a limit here.
Yeah.
So I guess it was like being employed in that way and a little bit less creative freedom than I have now. And definitely, I'd say less pressure because the gigs are there because you've got a really great agent that's going to find you the work. Mm-hmm. So it was riskier leaving, but I also knew it was the right time. Yeah.
What were you doing to try and get those sort of first kind of wedding clients and stuff? Or did that come from like people seeing you in the hotels and stuff like that?
So I did a couple of weddings when I was in London doing the hotel scene. I did a couple of weddings. I was on things like I don't know if I'm allowed to name drop them, but like Last Minute Musicians, Encore, Alive Network. We're all familiar with them. I think we've all, I
feel like you can say their names as long as you're not saying anything negative about them.
No, nothing at all. Because it was like, right, I was working at the hotels, I got some photos done. I got some video stuff done. So I was like, right, and I think that's really important for artists, like to have your own, like, not even professional, but photos, content, things like that to show what you're capable of, because then you're not relying on one source. You can put them out there on different agencies and go out and work elsewhere as well, which is great. So I started doing weddings through things like that. And they were never regular. The hotels were the regular. The weddings were just in the background. Then I came home, everything shut down. It was lockdown, which was such a difficult time for a lot of us in the creative industry. And I had to shield due to health problems for, I think it was either 3-6 months. I got one of those lovely letters in the post that was like, do not leave your home. Wow. A whole vibe. So I was like sulking for a good few weeks. Like, I think I just gamed and did jigsaw puzzles and was like, oh, it's so unfair, And then because I'd gone from playing 6-7 times a week in these gorgeous hotels all like doled up to sitting in my living room with my keyboard set up, going to my boyfriend like, do you want to hear me play this? Do you want to hear me play this? So I was like, right, I need to do something with my time. And what I started to do was post covers to Facebook on my Facebook page. So that was just something to do to pass the time, I guess.
Yeah.
And I I started looking into like Midlands venues, like wedding venues, like, right, I'll write all these down and I'll start emailing them. And then if the lockdown lifts, when the lockdown lifts, I've got hopefully some contacts. So I started doing bits like that, putting things on Facebook, and I did a big 8-hour live stream where I didn't stop playing. I did stop twice for a wee. Actually, I ran upstairs and ran back down. Did an 8-hour live stream for NHS charities together and raised some money. And that was really lovely. And I really liked that online community feel. And I think it was doing the Facebook side of things that led me then to TikTok.
Yeah.
And that was where the first like few months, I think I got TikTok in 2021. So I kind of got it quite late. Really. I feel like it was big in 2020 when the lockdown was in its highest, but I got it in 2021 and started posting and, got a couple of hundred views here, a couple of hundred views there. I remember I posted a video of our dog and that got like 20K views. So I was like, wow, the dog's famous. And then I posted a cover of Canon in D, which is Pachelbel's Canon in D wedding entrance. And I don't know why this idea came to my head, but I was watching Disney movies and I was like, oh, imagine I think it was Ariel's wedding entrance. So I mashed Canon in D up with Part of Your World and Kiss the Girl, I think. And that got like 400K views. So I was like, people like this. People really like this. So I went on a mad one in true Nicole way. I can't do things in halves. I did like Snow White's Walk Down the Aisle, Cinderella's Walk Down the Aisle, What Word, Fiona from Shrek Walk Down the Aisle. So all of these character ones where I blended them with Canon in D.
Yeah. And
then I got people saying, hey, can you do it with this pop song? And a lot of the reasons behind that were really sentimental to people. One lady said, I've lost my father. I want Here Comes the Sun as my wedding entrance. So I feel like I've got a part of him with me. Yeah, so I did the Canon in D entrance. I threw a gentle version of Here Comes the Sun. And I think that was my first one that really, Here Comes the Sun by the Beatles, sorry. I think that was the one that really skyrocketed. Mm-hmm. And it really resonated with people that actually because I've been doing these like Disney princess ones more as entertainment, but then it really resonated with people that actually you don't have to have something completely traditional. If you have a live musician, I'm all about people having live music at their events, their weddings. If you have a live musician, we can do this. We can recreate the song that means so much to you because of a loved one or tells your story. And we can recreate it in such a elegant, beautiful way that it will still work in a wedding scenario.
Yeah, well, just to give some people some context on your social media. So I actually only realized this yesterday because I don't use TikTok at all. But so I saw you had quite a lot of Instagram followers, which is about 85K. But then I saw your TikTok yesterday when I was just doing some background research on you, saw that you have 1 million TikTok followers. I was like, Jesus, that's wild. And just some other context as well. Like I had a look through to some of like the wedding entrance songs you can do, which you've done, like Roller Coaster Tycoon theme song, SpongeBob SquarePants,
the movie I'm a big nerd. Okay, I like the gaming ones.
Thomas Tank Engine, Sonic the Hedgehog, Pokemon, all amazing as well. Like so I mean, I feel like you've already kind of said where that started. I suppose it kind of just comes by accident, right? You notice something's working and you just keep doing it.
Yeah.
Exactly. They can't plan for 1 million TikTok followers, I don't think.
No. And I would never call myself an influencer. People have called me an influencer and I'm like, I'm not an influencer. Maybe I influence people's weddings. And if so, that's really cool. But all I want to do is, I guess I've never been a traditional musician. And yes, I studied classical piano, but I never felt like I fit into the classical musician mold because I liked to break the rules a little bit. And I guess this is where it comes from these limits. When you're taking your music grades, you've got to stick to the notes. When you're in hotel scenarios, you've got to stick to certain things. And I just like breaking those boundaries and not fitting in that classical musician mold, but giving songs that beauty and elegance as well. Yeah. And I guess that does come from the classical side of things.
Yeah.
So I guess it's just all, I just thought let's see how crazy we can go with this. And I've got to the point now, obviously, traditionally, when I first started my TikTok, I was starting nearly every song with Canon in D and Here Comes the Bride. And I've stopped doing that pretty much completely now because it doesn't always need that traditional element. So it's nice to have the traditional element, particularly if you're getting married in, say, a church or somewhere traditional. It's lovely to have Here Comes the Bride or Canon in D first and then blend into another song. But it also doesn't need that at all. So I've done a few. I did the Thomas the Tank theme, just played in like a really elegant style. And what was another one? The Jurassic Park theme, which is coming out on streaming services soon. So it's like people can use that, and that's really great that I've inspired that many people who want to use it. But just playing it in that style to itself rather than a mashup or a medley. And I really enjoy doing that. It just being one song from start to finish in that beautiful style.
This podcast is sponsored by my business, InFocus Recording Company. At InFocus, we specialize in creating exciting cinematic show reels for professional function musicians. We also offer photo shoots and custom logo design, helping you bring all your branding together into one cohesive package. Whether you're a solo artist or part of a 12-piece luxury show band, having standout promo material and strong branding is essential to growing your business and booking more gigs. If you're interested in checking out some of our work and learning more, head over to infocusrecordingcompany.co.uk. The number one question is, does having a big social media following actually bring in work to you as well?
I think it definitely does, because I've never had a website or anything like that. I've always...
I saw that. I was going to, it's hard to do research on someone when they don't have websites. Yes. Everything must come through word of mouth and social media, right?
Yeah. So I currently only have my email linked to my Instagram, purely because it was on my TikTok for a while, but it was very hard to manage. And a lot of people want audio recordings of the songs they've heard, because they're from all around the world, or they haven't got, for several reasons, they can't have live music in their wedding. And I don't do and sell audio MP3s due to copyright. The only way that audio is released by me is when it's ran through streaming services. So it obviously is allowed to be on there, and everything's done that the cover can go on there. Yeah. So I'm doing a lot more of that now, which is great, because it means if I can't be there or they can't have a live musician, they can still have the song that they love, which is fab. So it definitely brings in a lot of inquiries, a lot of different lines of work, which is great. So yes, but I would also say, like, before I had the following, I would look at accounts with like 10K, 20K and think, oh my gosh, like their life must be so different. And obviously it has its moments where you get things, you can get invited to certain events and things, and that's great, but it really isn't that different from having a smaller following, other than I'm very lucky in the way that I don't have to pay for promotion. I don't have to have a website. I don't really have to do wedding fairs and put myself out there as much. Yeah. I can just host my social media, and I'm very lucky for that. But I'm also very aware that it's not like I just fell into that. I had 6 years of constantly working in these hotels, which I think got me to the point where I was ready to build, whether I knew it or not. I was ready to put things online and to build that community and that following.
Yeah. Is your social media monetized now as well? Like, I don't really know how that works, because me with my lonely old 1,000 followers, do you actually get paid by TikTok and Instagram, and do you have YouTube as well, or? Yeah,
I'm rubbish on YouTube. I did have it for a bit, but I've barely used it, and that's something I should probably utilize more. TikTok, we get like the creator fund. It's not great. It's not. I don't think it's great, considering, that platforms like that need creators, else they don't have a platform. So do I think we should be supported more? Yes. Can I earn money live streaming on TikTok? Again, yes. I don't really do that much live streaming anymore, but it's always an option, so it can be monetized there, which is fab. And you can accept ads and things like that. I generally don't do that many ads, because I'm not... The only way I'd do an ad is if I had an instrument that I really if I was sent an instrument and I really, really loved it, I would never advertise something if I just wanted the money, because I just couldn't do it, because it doesn't feel fair at all. So yes, there are ways to monetize it. Do I utilize them as much as I should? Not really. I do occasionally, but then for me, my main source of, sorry, that was the dog shaking.
That's all right.
I don't monetize them maybe as much as I should, or I could, because my main source of income is live gigs. And that is what I love. I love playing live music. Has TikTok helped? Yes. But I love performing live.
Yeah. So I guess that was my main question is, do you get like wedding inquiries that come in and say, I really want to book you for my wedding?
Yeah, quite regularly. So I do a select amount of weddings a year. Again, I don't do, I think I cap at about 30 weddings a year, purely because I also do regular gigs, evenings elsewhere. I teach 2 nights a week. I run entertainment at local venues. So I hire in acts, run the bands. So I've got a balance of everything, which I like. So I take on the 30, I cap it, and then we go from there. So I do get inquiries through it,
and how much sort of time do you actually spend on your social media? Maybe when you were building it and now as well?
I'd say at the start, I probably spent quite a lot of time consuming content, because I think it's quite easy to get addicted to doom scrolling. I'm quite strict on it now. I'm like, no, we're there to create, not to consume too much. Of course, I have the occasional doom scroll, which is fine. I, for a while, was a bit addicted to the numbers, watching the views go up.
I can imagine,
when from an account with like 500 followers to all of a sudden I had 10K, then 20K, then 100K. And that built really quickly. Whereas now I've hit the 1 million, which is fabulous. It's not gone. I've not done that much since. I've not grown as much since, which is fine. Like I'm cool with that, because I haven't put as much time in as I was when I was growing to that amount. So in terms of recording the videos, I tend to sit at the piano for like 2 hours and do as many as I can. Yeah. So whether that be 3 videos that day, whether it be 6, 7, 8, it just depends on the day, depends what I'm playing. And then I put them out throughout the week. And then that's kind of my system of doing it.
Yeah. So kind of batching it.
Yeah. And not, I try not to become obsessed with those numbers, because I just think you can post, I've done this, you can post the same video a week apart, and at one point it can get like 7 mil views, and then the next week it can get like 20K, which I always find really interesting. So it can be luck of the draw, I think, sometimes. Yeah.
What's your most watched or most seen video?
I think the most watched one is an ABBA mashup, if I'm right. A big old ABBA mega mix for Bridesmaids and then Bride. Either that or the Dancing Queen one. It always seems to be ABBA. ABBA just
people love ABBA,
which is great, because I love ABBA. And I think because a lot of their songs are upbeat, that I've stripped them back and done them in that elegant style.
Yeah.
They've done well. They've done really well, which is awesome.
Do you think like, this one's going to do really well, and then it doesn't, and then and other ones that you don't even think about do amazing? Yeah,
absolutely. Pretty regularly. If you asked me to predict what was going to go well online and what wasn't, I couldn't tell you. Yeah. I'll do. I did a Wicked one with Defying Gravity. I thought that'll do really well. Wicked's massive at the minute. Not that great. And then I did a Wallace and Gromit one to almost fill time, and that did really well. So you can't call it. I think it is luck, and it depends just who's online on that day and is watching and consuming the content. It just depends. So my biggest piece of advice would be, if you start in a channel or post into a channel and you're not getting the views, just stay consistent, because it doesn't reflect on you. Not getting those views does not reflect on you at all. It is just luck as the draw.
I think most people that I've spoken to that have a decent following on TikTok, I think pretty much everyone find that they don't really actually get work from that one. It's more Instagram where they're getting messages and stuff. Is that the same with you?
Yeah, I have my messages off on TikTok purely because of, trolls. We do get, unfortunately, with following does come hate. And it's not very nice. So I have my messages off. And I don't have my email linked again because I feel like if someone was serious about the inquiry, they could find me on Instagram and email me through there.
Yeah.
So like my Instagram is linked to my TikTok. So it's not too difficult to find if you're really serious about an inquiry. So I wouldn't say I get the direct response from TikTok. It tends to be through Instagram that people are coming through my email.
And so lastly, on your social media bits, I think then, is there, apart from that, if you didn't have social media, is there anything else that you do sort of to promote yourself and get work?
I think obviously when I first started out and was doing weddings, like the wedding fairs are really, they're great to get out there. Open mic nights. I'm a big fan of an open mic night, obviously because of what happened previously in my career with the fact I was at an open mic and got a dream gig sort of thing 6 months later from it. So I guess things like that and just performing, like saying yes to every performing opportunity as long as you're comfortable and happy with it. I think there's no better way to get yourself out there than physically getting yourself out there. Yeah,
it's important, networking. So let's move on to, unless there's anything else that you want to cover from growing your social media or anything like that, let's move on to some of your good experiences, some of your bad experiences from gigging. Mm-hmm. Previously, I always seem to start on the nice experiences and then end on a bad one for some reason. So let's start with maybe a bad one and end with a good one.
I was honestly, when you said about going for the bad experiences, I was trying to wrap my brains. Maybe I've been really lucky. But also I do work on my own a lot. So maybe it's just gone over my head.
Yeah.
If I've had a bad experience. The only one I can think of, and this is a classic, like you cannot please everybody, especially in the creative field. You cannot please everybody. It is impossible. And I was playing at one of the hotels once and a guest called a member of staff over and said, "She is so boring. I am going to sleep. Tell her to play something more upbeat." And I remember the staff was like, I had a good relationship with this member of staff and they were like, "I don't want to tell you this, but I'm gonna." And they told me and I was like, I said, "I'll do some jazz in the next set." And that was it. And then he still continued to moan about everything else. So I just feel like maybe he was having a bad day. But yeah, I think that is classic. You cannot please everybody.
Yeah.
That's online and in the real world as well. So that was a bit of a sad one. In terms of actual bad gigs, I've done the gigs where nobody's listening, Yeah. I still sometimes do those gigs. You can do the gigs where nobody is paying attention and like to anyone, wherever you are. I think if you hear live music playing, you see live music playing. If you want to make a musician's day, just clap at the end of the song or go over and say, "Thanks, I really liked that," or, appreciate them. Because the pub gigs in particular, working in pubs and bars, working pub and bar gigs is character building, to say the least, because you've got to ride off your own vibe sometimes because no one there is that bothered. Not to say they're not enjoying it, but they're not, maybe they're drinking, catching up with friends, so they're not going to give you that applause, that whoop at the end of the song.
Yeah.
So I think in terms of bad gigs, it'd be hard to pinpoint one, but the ones where people don't listen are really hard, especially maybe you've just tried out a new song or you've come up with an arrangement you're really proud of. It's always lovely to just, even if it's not appropriate to clap, just go over and say, "I really like that. Thank you." Because the thing is with live music in venues, in hotels, wherever, if it wasn't there, you'd really miss it and you'd really notice it. You'd be like, "Oh, something's empty." But because it's there, especially at the venues that constantly do live music, I think sometimes it can be taken a little bit for granted.
Yeah.
So that would be my only thing on bad gigs. It's when people don't, and I'm not saying I need applause after every song and people throwing roses at me. I just mean if someone comes over and says, "Thank you, we had a great night and we loved listening to you or absorbing your music."
Okay, so good experiences there. Let's hear some nice ones.
Good ones. See, most of them are good. I really like my job. Like, I love what I do. I couldn't do anything else, I don't think. I mean, I've had some really amazing experiences in terms of where I've played. I've played at the Gherkin in London. That was incredible to be up. They hired in like a grand piano. I was on the 4th floor there. That was incredible. I've been working a lot lately for candlelight concerts. I
saw that. I was going to ask about that.
Yeah. They're epic. And I've played at some big, like Birmingham Cathedral in front of hundreds of people and several other cathedrals around the Birmingham area. So they're always amazing. I think my favorite one is when I do the music of Linkin Park, because I'm a big Linkin Park fan. And again, traditionally, that would never be played on the piano, especially songs like Faint and One Step Closer. They're not traditional solo piano songs at all. So to be given the creative freedom to work those songs to solo piano and have it in this concert setting, I just love that.
Yeah.
So they're some of my favorites. I love every wedding I do because that's the most important day, or one of the most important days of someone's life. And to be given that honor of that moment they'll remember forever is really, really special. So they're really good. I loved Savoy. I loved all the hotels. Generally, I've had really lovely, lovely performance experiences.
That's good to hear. That is good to hear. So are you kind of where you want to be now? Are you got plans for, as we're recording this is early in the year, have you got plans for the year to grow things, or are you kind of like happy where you are?
I'm kind of just, with me, I've never been much of a plan person.
Yeah.
I'm not like, I have to have this done by this year, I have to have this. I just keep being creative and putting myself out there. And I say yes to opportunities when sometimes I'm really scared. Yeah. And then I learn more and I go from there. So I think just saying yes. I saw something online the other day saying like, everyone's underqualified until they've done it.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? You're not qualified until you've done the thing you're scared of, and then you are.
Yeah, I love that about your story at the start with the hotel, when you didn't have the dress, you didn't know, you didn't have the set, but you just did it anyway and it went amazing. And yeah, the story carries on.
I think just saying yes to things. So in the last year, I've music directed 4 shows as well at our community theatre. So I've led like 12-piece bands. I've worked with the cast and I had no experience in that. And I was terrified, but now I feel like I can do it and I'm proud of myself for doing it. So I think it is just about, if you have a skill, you're comfortable. So for me, I'm comfortable with the fact I can play the piano. Could I sit there and play Rachmaninoff? No. Could I sit there and sight read? So literally have the sheet music put in front of me and read it like that, like some amazing musicians can? No. But can I play things, push the creative boundaries, play things in an elegant way that you might not expect them, and trust my ability in that? Yes, absolutely. Mm-hmm. Do I trust my musicality? Yes. So if there's an opportunity that I'm like, I've not done that before, but I think I can make this work for me, then I will say yes to it.
Yeah.
So in terms of the year, no, I don't have any set plans. I'm doing quite a few weddings this year, which would be fabulous. Hoping to do some more of the candlelight concerts. They're awesome. Continue to post more that is one thing I'm doing this year. I want to get more covers out on streaming, which I'm starting off with. I've got Jurassic Park coming out at the end of this month. So the little pretty arrangement of that is going to be everywhere. And then I want to try and do one a month. So see what isn't out there. Like if there's not an elegant arrangement of a certain song, get it online. If the demand is there for it, then put it to streaming. So I guess that's one of my goals for this year.
Is that just like
roll it around and hope for the best?
Yeah. Is that kind of like a passion thing, or is there money to be made from that? I know people don't make a ton of money from Spotify and things. So
yeah, not really. I just like the fact that people, from what I can tell online, people like what I do, and I want that to be accessible. Because I can't be at every wedding. I can't be everywhere. So I think it would be, I'm so sorry, the dog is snoring so loud.
I can't hear. Is that why?
And it might pick up in the audio. But yeah, so I think just allowing, if people enjoy how I play, that's really awesome. And allowing that to be accessible for people to have. And like people have said, even while they work, having like piano covers on in the background is really nice. So I think just allowing my music, my style of music, I should say, to be out there. I'd love to do originals at some point. Obviously, I did do my degree in composition, and I always make this joke to everyone I work with. I'm like, I did a degree in music composition and I've never used it because really I've not. The arrangement skills, absolutely I have, but the composition side of it, no. I still write little melodies and things at the piano, so it would be lovely to get some of my original music out there eventually. But I'm a very firm believer is when the time is right, I will get that creative urge. Everything happens at the right time. So I'm not going to push myself until I know or feel ready to start sharing more original work.
Yeah. You're quite young still, right? You're mid-20s?
I'm nearly 30.
Well, yeah. That's still pretty young. Like, I feel like you've got a long way to go still. In your career.
Yeah.
So amazing. I love all of that. So let's just move on to the last bit of the episode, which is the quick fire round. So first of all, what is the most effective thing you've done to market yourself or your business?
Staying consistent.
And do you mean that on social media or just with kind of anything?
Anything really. I'd say anything within reason. Obviously you have to I put myself first while staying consistent as much as I can. Yeah. It's a balance.
Good answer. What have you learned in the last 3 months that you wish you knew 3 years ago?
Don't run yourself into the ground because you will burn out.
It's so hard for self-employed people to not do that. Like,
don't
you really got to set your own boundaries, don't you?
Yeah, don't watch the numbers, don't watch the views. Just keep being consistent in the way that you enjoy the most whilst putting yourself first. But don't let the numbers, the views, the likes, the clicks reflect upon your talent because they do not. Yeah.
Yeah. Hard though. Hard.
Very hard.
If you were just starting out now, what's the first thing that you would do?
Download TikTok. Is that a really bad answer? Download TikTok, Instagram, because at the end of the day, it is free marketing for your business. Yeah. And accounts with small followings can go viral. It can change your life. Yeah. So why not?
I think, there's not, social media is not the only way to get yourself out there, but it is the easiest way and the cheapest way.
You can do it from home, you know? Yeah.
That was one question I had actually. With the drama that's going on with TikTok in the US, does anything like that worry you that that's going to disappear at some point? Because if it does in America, it might happen in England.
To be honest, it did. I did obviously hear about all the TikTok ban, which lasted for like 12 hours. And I thought, which was quite funny. And I thought to myself, what will it affect? What will it affect in my life right now? Will I still have the label of having 1 million followers on TikTok? No. Will I still have myself, my talent, my creativity, other social media platforms? Yes. Will I still have my regular gigs? Yes. Will I still have my regular teaching? Yes. I guess with the TikTok ban, I would generally say, if this is music in general, don't put all your eggs in one basket.
Yeah.
Because you never know what's going to happen. You could have a really great rapport with a venue and then they could suddenly say, we're not doing live music anymore. Yeah. Which has happened at the hotels. It happened at the hotels in London. It can happen at big venues. So don't put all your eggs completely in one basket. And that's what I'm trying not to do with TikTok. And that's why I guess I haven't monetized it and used them. What's the word? I haven't gone the influencer route. I've stayed in the musician route and I've got my eggs in several baskets. So I know that I'll always be okay and I'll always make it work. Yeah. Good.
So that was a little break from our quickfire round. Okay. Where did I get to? What's the biggest mistake that you've made in your business and what did you learn from it?
Oh, this is meant to be quick fire and I'm not very quick at thinking.
You're good.
Biggest mistake in my business and what have I learned from it? I think doubting myself, generally, doubting my abilities and saying, oh, I'm just this or I'm just that. Like, if you doubt yourself, no one else will have belief in you. So I just think just having that strong belief, like, actually, I've got to where I am because I've worked hard. For years, I was like, I'm really lucky. And I am lucky, but I also worked very, very hard. So I think not talking myself down, not saying that I doubt myself or I can't do something when I know deep down if I trained a bit harder or worked a bit harder in a certain area that I could. So just having that self-belief. I wish I'd had more self-belief and maybe said yes to some of the opportunities in like my early 20s that I would now say yes to.
Yeah, good answer. And lastly then, do you use any specific tools or apps that help manage your business?
No, I didn't know there was any. I just, honestly, when you put that question on, I was like, I don't know really, other than obviously I have my social media, but I don't use anything that really helps. I do rely mainly on my creativity for it. And just, I just post creatively.
Yeah. That's the one other question I forgot to ask you as well is like, what is your sort of setup for making your content? Are you just using a phone? Do you use a fancy camera? Anything for the audio?
Yeah.
Or is it quite simple?
Firstly, I'm honoured that you think I use a fancy camera because it is literally just my phone. So thanks. I film when I first started filming and it really took off, we were in our old house, I was in my conservatory. So it was always very bright, which was fun. And it was freezing in the winter and boiling in the summer, as conservatories are. But it was always very bright. And then we moved into our new house and there was a standalone garage. And again, it was quite bright. So I have all my piano stuff in the garage and I literally have phone on the basic Amazon tripod ring light. I do mic up. I just have pencil mics either side of my piano. They run into an interface that runs into Logic. I bounce out the audio. I add it to the visual in an editing app and then out it goes. So I do record the audio to a standard. Is it fancy? No, it's just straight into Logic with a bit of reverb put on it. But mobiles just don't pick up pianos that cleanly. So I use, pencil mics to record, but everything else is just on my iPhone, really, because I'm not very technical. Yeah. To be completely
Did you have
honest.
to learn how to do that stuff by yourself or?
I had a bit of help from like some friends in tech who were just like, you can use this, you can use that. But I think the method I have now I've developed because that's the right and the easiest one for me. I like to put all of my time into being creative rather than into having a perfect setup. Yeah. My room's often a bit of a mess in the background. There's nothing fancy. It is just a garage. It's just my little music hub and it is my little garage. But people have said they like that it feels really authentic.
Yeah, so that's what I was going to say. Yeah.
Change it.
I feel like a lot of content online does really well when it's just a simple setup.
Yeah.
Amazing. I think that's all my questions. Unless there's anything else you wish I'd asked you or anything else you wanted to talk about at all, I think that brings us to an end.
I think I'm all good. Thank you so much for having me.
No, it's been a pleasure. Really enjoyed it. So there we go. I really hope you enjoyed that episode. And I just wanted to say a massive thank you again to Nicole for coming on and chatting to me. If you don't already follow her, you can find her on Instagram at PianoCole. That is piano and Cole, that one word, and the same on TikTok. And all those links will be in the episode description, along with everything else I mentioned at the start as well. That's it from me. Take it easy, and I'll catch you next week for episode 7.